Welcome to the Art of Being Nimble podcast. I'm Glenn Smith and I'm your host. In this series, we'll introduce you to business leaders from around the world who will interview about how they've overcome challenges of operating a business in today's dynamic world. Through their stories, we're going to hear about what problems they've had and how they fixed them and the benefits it's brought them. Importantly, you're going to learn some lessons about what you can then use in your organisation to do similar things. So let's get on with the show and hear the next story. Today's episode is a little different. It's not a story of scaling to millions or pitching to VCs. It's about something more grounded, more human. I'm talking with Adam Mattis. He's a tech consultant by trade with a rich history in startups and digital transformation. But recently, Adam and his wife Janelle stepped into something entirely new. They launched a local pressure washing business called Beans Power Clean. Now, on paper, it was smart, a brand-led, scalable Main Street model. But 4 months later, they closed it down. Today, Adam shares what they learnt, what went wrong, and why walking away was the right call. It's a story about expectations, risk, identity, and honest self-reflection. Unlike all the best stories, it might just help you make sense of your own. I'm Glenn Smith, and this is The Art of Being Nimble. So Adam, welcome to The Art of Being Nimble.
Glenn, it's nice to be on this side of the conversation for a change.
Absolutely. It's normally you interviewing me, so the tables have turned. So today we're going to talk about the story of your business startup, Beans Power Clean. Maybe we should go back to the beginning. Where did the idea come from to start a pressure washing business?
Well, so this was my third startup, my first non-tech. My first two, my very first one was I built a dial-up based ISP from my parents' garage in like 1996. The second was to build one of the very first platforms that allowed car dealers to easily get inventory online and sell their cars. So that was kind of, my background and I guess where I cut my chops in startups. And this one has nothing to do with any of that, right? So my wife and I are old, like just older. And we just had our first son. His name's Ford Michael. He's the most amazing thing ever. And we really got to thinking about how we wanted to raise him. Mm-hmm. And obviously I'm a traveling consultant like you, Glenn. We're never home. We're always on the road. And my wife is a nurse. And we got to thinking like, well, how are we going to balance this? Because there's no childcare on earth that allows drop off at 4:45 in the morning and pick up somewhere between 7 and 9. So when I'm traveling and she's working, there was no model that made sense where we could take care of him. Then we started down the path of, well, do we really want to put him in childcare? I mean, I do well enough that I can support us. And if we have the opportunity to raise him on our own, we should do that. Like if we don't have to take him to daycare, let's not do that. And then that conversation went down the path of my wife is as high energy as I am. And the idea of her sitting in the house all day with nothing to do would probably lead to her sitting at the country club and drinking champagne all day and not down a good path. She has to have something to do. So we thought a lot about where is their opportunity space right now? I mean, she's not a techie, so writing code's not her thing. And home services was a sector that we saw as being ripe for disruption. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that do really well in that space in terms of what they produce. And not many of them do anything in terms of experience architecture, understanding how to build a business for scale and in those things. So we saw the opportunity, right? I mean, now neither one of us have ever washed anything, but I know how to build a business. She knows how to run a staff operation. I mean, that's what she's done in nursing for like the last 20 years. So we just did a research project around, what businesses, what home services businesses in this area are very fragmented, what require low skill, no skill to enter. So like if you look at construction, you need licenses, you need to be a general contractor, things like that. And where we live on the in the southern United States, pollen and mold are two big concerns. We have the great pollinating, as we call it, that happens twice a year, which is when the grass blooms and we both drive black cars and everything turns yellow. And then there's a second one that happens when all the pine blooms and again, everything turns yellow. So with all of the houses here, I mean, there's an opportunity. Things need to be cleaned. And then also later in the summer, as things become more humid, most of the houses, as I see in my neighborhood here, they're light color. So when you have humid weather on hardy board, you get mold. And the only way to clean it effectively, it's not with pressure, it's with a technique called soft washing. And, we saw the opportunity to invest some capital to build a business model. And it could be something that she ran, 8 or 10 hours a day, 4 days a week, that would give her something to do, some purpose, and generate some income. And then selfishly, we wanted to build it, scale it, sell it, and then do something different. So that's kind of the what, the why, and the how behind the founding of Beans Power Clean.
Well, that sounds very inspiring. And starting a business, though, is obviously super exciting and a lot of buzz. But obviously, once you've started it and you've registered the domain name, then the hard work really starts, doesn't it? So what was it actually like when the rubber hit the road and you started the operationally side of the business?
So getting ready and going into day one was easy. I mean, building the brand was fun. So Beans Power Clean, the idea of that was there was a parent entity called Bean Services, and I envisioned 3 separate business units that could be franchised. So there would be the Power Clean, which is the first. Yeah. There would be home services, which would be like painting and maintenance. And then the third that would be landscaping, so lawn care and things like that. And the idea was that we could scale and sell franchises in any one of those 3 areas. The name Beans, my wife's name is Janelle. And ever since the first day I met her, I called her my Janelle Bean. So Janelle Bean, Beans, it was a really cool logo. It was, matte navy with pink branding. Like it looked sharp, and it was kind of catchy. Because of the brand, when we built the first rig and had it wrapped, people were drawn to it, right? Our signs were different. Our trucks were different. Our crew looked different. I have a little bit of a background in fashion. So we made sure that our team looked tight. They had great looking uniforms, well fitting, look professional, show up in a professional looking truck, professional looking branding, invoicing, customer experience, everything was there, right? So all of that was good. And I think between the two of us, I mean, the longest part in that entire process of getting started, getting insurance, and going to day one was waiting for the truck to be built. We worked with the shop in Roanoke, Alabama, which is 4 or 5 hours away from where we live.
Oh, okay.
They were the best in the business. So we drove the rig down there and they built it, and it took them probably 6 weeks to do. It was a completely custom build, but it was built, I mean, again, around the things that we love, Glenn: efficiency, flow, and let's make the best work environment so we can be the fastest. So all that was good. All that was good till day one. Janelle did the hiring. We found some gems, and then things got started with the first day that we opened, and that's where things got interesting.
So describe interesting then, because I feel like there's a story there.
Yeah. So I want to lead by saying I don't mean for this to sound negative, but realizations are what they are, right? So the kind of work that you and I do for a living primarily, it attracts a certain caliber of person. And everybody is self-motivated. You don't have to worry about people showing up on time and doing the right thing, or being drunk or being high when they come to work. I mean, that's just to get started in this industry. Like those things are just not issues, right? I mean, it's a high caliber of person. And I am an endless optimist, and I believe in the boundless potential of people. So I always lead with that. And Janelle did interview carefully, but what I learned quickly is that there's a difference between the people the caliber of people that we're used to working with and someone who's willing to work for $15, $16 an hour.
Sure.
And it's not to say there's anything wrong with that. It's just, it's different. So everything started out well, and I structured it, and I structured the pay package like I would a tech company. right? So, I had the vision for where we wanted to go. So on day one, we presented that. And, we thanked everybody for being in on the ground floor. We offered stock and we offered like a path for as we grow this business, these are the opportunities that you have.
Mm.
And, the foreman, we were very explicit that, hey, me, Adam, I'm not involved in the business day to day, right? Behind the scenes, the accounting, like those are the things I take care of, but you will not see me day to day. I have a very intense full-time job. Like I'm here on day one to shake your hand and make sure you're not a jerk to my wife. But then like you're the foreman. Like this is your show. This is yours to grow.
Yeah.
And the way the pay structure was set up was you could make as much money as you wanted, right? If you did these extra things in terms of prospecting, upselling, whatever, you could make a lot of money. I mean, realistically, you could make $130,000 your first year washing
Wow.
houses. And I thought in my brain, well, ownership, unlimited earning potential, who isn't going to step up? Like if you find the right motivated person that wants to build a career, this is it. Like you can make a lot of money. So that's how we launched. And the first 2 weeks or so, things were great. And then that's about the time people's true colors still, start coming out. And, people were sick, people were late, people came to work with the quote unquote stomach bug, but it was very obvious that they were drunk or high or whatever. And it became a lot. And then, we really looked at it. I think the culminating event was there was two. There was one where one of the guys was carrying a ladder on a job site and it wasn't latched and it came together and I mean, all but cut off 3 of his fingers.
Oh no.
So that was a huge eye opener in terms of liability. And then the one that was the deciding factor to shut it down was we were doing, again, the marketing, the branding, the way that you approach people, all that was good. Like the BD, everything, like it was really humming like this could be a hockey stick investment. We had built some relationships with commercial vendors in town, a commercial construction company that builds all hotels on the East Coast. And we were working with them for post-construction site cleanup. And windows. So you build a new hotel, windows need clean before you open. When they stucco a hotel, there's overspray on the windows, there's paint overspray on the glass. There's a lot, right? So the team was doing those jobs. And the last event that really convinced us to just call it quits was one of the guys were cleaning the exterior of a hotel, the last window, and the boom lift had caught the wind and smashed into the side of the building and did a lot of damage. And, I got that call. I was out of town and Janelle's like, what do I do? And I said, well, we have to fix it, right? We have to fix it. That's it. I mean, we own the mistake. We fix it. And then I think the liability risk was really obvious. And the way we had structured the business, there were several layers between our personal finances and the business. So there was a lot of firewalls, but the reality was between people getting hurt, between the property damage, it was too much risk and too much stress. It wasn't worth it. We had just had our son at this point. Again, like I'm very busy throughout the day with my full-time job. That was not supposed to take any of my time.
Yeah.
And Janelle, with having our son, a newborn, it was too much stress on her. So between the liability and the risk associated with the work itself and the stress it was putting on her as a new mom and the fact that I was getting these calls, I can't put my primary focus and my primary work at risk for this other thing. So for those reasons, we just decided, hey, this isn't the right thing. It's not the right time. It's too much risk. It's requiring too much overhead. We're worried too much about people showing up sober, doing the right thing. It was just our foray into home services was short-lived.
And how long was what was it? Were you operating the business for in the end?
4 months.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't long at all. It was rapid growth and then rapid intentional deceleration.
It's interesting. You were talking about just the expectations of, I suppose, workforce management and how we expect people. It strikes me as just one of those things of, it's very easy for us all. I think I would probably do the same, of take it for granted of, well, this is my mental model and this is my day to day. So you sort of assume everyone's the same. And
well, and Glenn, we do a good job of surrounding ourselves with people that are that caliber, like the caliber that you and I are, and better. Right. So like I always assume, I walk into a room and I assume I'm the dumbest, laziest person there and everyone's smarter. Right. So I just assume everyone around me is more motivated.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a byproduct, again, of like the community that we surround ourselves with day to day.
During those, I know you said obviously you weren't involved day to day, but I suspect you were probably burning the midnight oil to do some of the, like I said, behind the scenes of finance. How was it? What was the relationship like? Because obviously you and Janelle were husband and wife plus business partners. What did that do?
Well, I think it was a good dynamic in the beginning, because it was a really cool learning opportunity for Janelle to start learning some of the things that I know and that I do.
Yeah.
And I really took a lot of joy in teaching her, and then having a language to talk to her in that was similar, right? Because typically, I mean, her entire family is in medicine. Like in our broader family, there's 19 of us, and myself and my sister-in-law Summer are the only two who are not in medicine. The majority are all physicians. There's 3 nurses and a PA. So, and if you do that math, I think we're up to like 6 or 8. No, I think we're up to 8 physicians now. My brother-in-law actually just graduated medical school yesterday.
Oh, very cool.
So he's 27. So he was the last one, and he's a physician too. So there's a lot of ER talk that I have no time for.
I'm imagining family gatherings of one corner for you and talking about the non-ER stuff, and then all healthcare in the other corner.
Well, Glenn, I'm a hypochondriac. When I listen to the things that they talk about, I'm almost certain those things are going to happen to me, because that's just how my brain works. So I do separate myself. I don't want to hear it. And then I also think that they all think I'm some kind of a drug dealer, because they have no idea what I do for a living. My father-in-law, he does have an MBA. He did run a hospital for a while, but his basis of knowledge is the Jack Welch School of Management, literally the Jack Welch School of Management. So when I talk about what I do, it's so counter to how he views the business world. He just doesn't understand how it could possibly be a success. My sister-in-law Summer, it's at least easy to understand what she does. She's an engineer, a mechanical engineer on the M1 Abrams tank. Everyone knows what that is. They get mechanical engineering, real job. This thing that I do for, business modernization and process improvement and digital transformation just sounds like a bunch of hooey to them. So, but to answer your question, it was really great to have the opportunity to learn together and have like that common goal.
Yeah.
So it was really, really good in the beginning. And I think until, like I mentioned in the beginning of this, we're older. And when we had our son, I think we knew what to expect, but we also had no idea what to expect. And quite literally, my tolerance for anything that detracted time from him or that introduced stress to Janelle in caring for him, I had no time for. And I think that was why it was so easy for me to shut it down, because I think the entrepreneur in me and the bulldog in me, I would have figured it out. It just, quite frankly, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It wasn't worth my energy to push through it and put everything else at risk, professionally, personally. So I just made the very intentional decision that this isn't worth it. Sunk cost, I don't care, shut it down. And it was literally that quick.
Wow.
It was the crane into the building, seeing the stress on my family, recognizing that this thing could pose a risk to the work I do day to day. It's not worth it. Kill it.
Sure. I mean, parenthood is amazing for creating laser focus of what's important, what's not, as well as, initially in the early years, losing lots of sleep.
Actually, I got to say, Glenn, we didn't lose any.
Did you not?
He is an expert sleeper. When he first came home, he was up twice in the middle of the night to eat. Right now, he's almost 4 months old. he slept, what was it? It was almost a 12-hour stretch last Saturday. He
Wow.
was only up once to eat, and he slept 7 hours straight. I mean, he's been as good as you could expect an infant to possibly be. We're lucky.
You are, and I hate you. So, because
Well, I also understand this is how people get talked into a second kid, is when the first one's so easy, you're like, oh, this is great. Let's do it again.
yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Talked into that. I mean, I already do the math of how old I'll be when Ford is off the payroll, and the answer is damn near 70. So if we do this again, I'll be damn near 75, and we're just not doing it.
So having now closed the business down and had the chance to, I guess, distance yourself a little bit from what's happened, as you reflect back, in a cold light of day, what are your reflections of what did you learn from the process? And more importantly, because this wasn't your first rodeo, what will you do again next time?
So where I grew up, I was told in high school that I was too dumb to carry lumber on a job site, and that I really need to focus on building a career in manual labor, because that's all I was ever going to be qualified to be. And that was the catalyst. And again, I grew up in a very poor part of Western Pennsylvania in the US. Everyone is a coal miner, a farmer, or a drug dealer. I mean, that's quite honestly all there is to do there. And I made the decision very early on that wasn't for me. That wasn't going to be me, which is contrary. I mean, I come from an immigrant family that came from, the poorer parts of Slovakia. And the mentality, that immigrant mindset is, we've already improved our stars. We'll never be more than what we are. To try to be more is an insult to your family. So none of that landed well with me. So I decided I wasn't going to be any of those things, and I wasn't going to take this feedback, and I was going to be a tech guy. So that's why I built my first 2 tech companies, and that's why I'm in tech now, and that's why I've worked so hard. I think the realization that, there's a reason why I left. I spent a lot of summers putting up hay, picking rocks out of field, doing those hard things. And I think I realized that I can do more and I have more to offer. I think shifting into to the space that we were in, made me remember why I don't like that work. Right. And it's good work. And if, you talk about, again, the money, people make a lot of money doing that work. I mean, with a little bit of discipline, and I'm not even talking a lot, as an individual in a team of 2, you can make $500,000 a year pressure washing houses for 9 months. Like, you can make a lot of money. It's not about the money. It's about the work. The work is not stimulating for me. And I think that was the good realization. So while there is endless opportunity right now to make money in service businesses, with the mass wave of retirement, with my generation that was pushed to college, there's just not a lot of people doing that work. And what we see in the economy now is there's a lot of people buying those businesses and building those businesses and filling that gap. And I think that's great for them. The realization is that it's not for me, right?
Right.
We talked in the beginning. I'm an engineer by trade. I love building things. I love systems. I love software. I love architecting big solutions to hard problems. The fun that I do now is I'm building enterprise grade AI deployments just to understand how they work. So that's my sweet spot. And to just chase money because it looks easy and it seems like, a safe bet. I've never played anything safe in my life, Glenn. That's not me. I mean, if you look behind me, I've got, that's not mine. But I mean, that number plate's mine. That helmet's mine. I go fast. I take risks, high risk, high reward. That's what gets me excited. So it was a good business. It would have been insanely successful. It's not for me. And that is okay. I am completely okay with that. The business I'm involved in with right now, I'm an equity partner. We're doing some really cool things, and it's a really exciting time. Like, we're at an inflection point, and it's scary, and it's where I thrive. Like, I do the best when things are hard and a little bit uncertain. So I think next I'm going to continue to put myself in those situations. Like when when the business you and I are both involved in um, goes through this inflection point and there's an opportunity for a nice exit, I'm going to look for another hard problem. I'm going to
Yeah.
look for another sticky, gross situation where I can dive in and be an engineer and build relationships and rally people and solve a problem.
Mm.
And when I look at the beginning of my career in consulting, that's why I was successful. I
Yeah.
don't want the easy engagements. I don't want the sexy engagements. I want the ugliest, nastiest things to go in and try and solve because I am at my best when stress and tension is at its highest.
You've clearly overcome lots of challenges, including the lack of support and inspiration when you were a child of where you could possibly go. And it's a shame that the system didn't support your aspirations and create that.
Glenn, I used to think that, but in hindsight, I think had I had the support, I wouldn't have had the drive to win.
Right.
Like I said, I do the best when when the situations are hard. I thrive in adversity, and when things are easy, I get lazy.
Sure.
So I don't want to be lazy. So I need that rub to grow.
Sure.
So I there was a lot of years where I had resentment for how I grew up, where I grew up, my time in the military, which is a conversation for a different time. But I've come to realize that if it wasn't for that adversity, I would not grow. And even professionally, when the market's easy, I get lazy. I stop reading. I stop growing. I stop learning. But when there's friction, that's where really cool things happen. That's where I push myself. So I need that friction.
Cool. Well, and it's great that you've identified that's your catalyst. And I guess through running the experiment with beans, you now know what you don't want to do, which in itself is one step forward as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, what general advice would you give, though, if you were speaking? Let's imagine you were bumping into someone on one of your many business trips, at a bar, taking 5 minutes for yourself, and someone said they were thinking about starting a local service business. What would your advice be, having been there, done there, and got the T-shirt? By the sound of it, very stylish T-shirt as well.
And a cool hat.
And a cool hat.
This is not sarcastic at all.
Yeah.
Go to therapy. Make sure that seriously, make sure you understand yourself.
Yeah.
Understand your motivations and be honest about it. Because I think in this venture, I lied to myself.
Right.
I said, this is a good opportunity to grow fast at low risk that will give Janelle something to do and it'll produce revenue we can invest in our son. None of those were good motivations. And if I knew myself and if I owned it, I would have said the easy path is not the path for you. Right. And I know that it was the easy path because the adversity that we faced was real, but it wasn't insurmountable.
Yeah.
Like we could have pushed through that, but it wasn't the right thing for me. It wasn't the right space. It wasn't the right industry. It didn't cater to really any of my talents. And I did it because it was low risk with high return. It was the easy path. Not to say that any of it's easy because business ownership isn't easy anywhere ever.
No.
Right. But for me and for my motivations and the things that I'm good at, it was the easy path.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the right path. So know yourself, know why you're doing it. Really analyze, I think this also goes back to the idea in software engineering, right? Where the best engineers make the best managers. And you and I both know that's not the case because it's different skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you really enjoy being a painter and you want to go start your own painting company, make damn sure that you understand what it takes to run a business because it's very different than painting a house.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're willing to accept that stress. Make sure that you're willing to accept the responsibility, and I believe it's a responsibility, to employ others. Really make sure you want to make that leap. And don't rely on self-reflection to determine whether or not that's true. Get someone who doesn't know you to pressure test it and ask you the hard questions, because we all lie to ourselves. When we want to do something, we will lie to ourselves and talk ourselves into it.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate enough to be in a position where we lost money, and it hurts, but it's okay. A lot of people aren't in a position where they can make those investments and lose money and it be okay. Right? You might take out a small business loan that you then default on or something like that. So really analyze the risk profile, know yourself, and decide whether or not this is the right choice. But really, if it is, not to be a Debbie Downer all the time, if this is for you, the opportunities are endless. I mean, brand goes a long way. Mm-hmm. Operations go a long way. Basic communication seems to be a skill lost in this sector. I mean, there's great tools you can buy. We used House Call Pro, and all you have to do is tap on your phone when you're on your way to a job, when you're done with a job, and everything else is automated. The text messages that you're on your way, who the rep is, the invoicing, the upsells, it's all automated, and customers love it because it's how they're used to communicating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So leverage the tools, build a great customer experience. Be very disciplined in the products that you use, training, and efficiency, and you're going to make as much money as you want to.
Just hearing you talk about, like the tools and that professionalism that I guess we would expect on a day, and we work with our clients about. When you have, we moved just over 12 months ago, and loads of trades coming and doing bits and pieces, and there's, the lack of communication and update. And I mean, when your Amazon driver's coming, why can't I know when the fill in the blank person is coming?
Glenn, we have a house that we just built. It's a rental property, and it took 4 years to build. Like, it was every worst case story you could imagine for home services we've experienced. And even now, like, we're doing some of the post-construction repairs, and the responses that we get for something like, hey, the firewall that you built around the fireplace is cracked, come fix it. We'll be there sometime between Tuesday and then 3 months. And then they just show up, and I'm 2.5 hours away. Like, my mother-in-law's 9 hours away. Nobody can be there. Like, you just show up and expect, but yes, to your point, punctuality and communication. If you do those two things well, and you're even mediocre in the skill, you'll win. Yeah,
goes a long way, doesn't it? So, Adam, this has been really interesting. Thank you very much for sharing your journey today, and all the best. And I'm looking forward to hearing your continued experiments with new technology.
I think you'll be hearing a lot about those very soon.
Cheers, Adam.
Cheers, Glenn.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I've had fun making it. I'd be thrilled to hear your feedback or suggestions for topics you'd like me to explore. Email the show at podcast@nimbility.co. You can also check out all the other episodes in the series at nimbility.co/podcast. If you've enjoyed the content, it would mean a lot to us if you could subscribe and rate the show in your podcast app. Your support helps others discover the show and allows us to keep spreading the word. So until next time, thanks for listening.